Hello, Happy New Year, and I hope you guys had a really good Christmas. I'm Evan.
I'm Zach, and as you can see, over the next few weeks we're going to have a slight change in background due to the new Welsh Government lockdown, so for those of you who are a little nosy, you're going to see around our homes.
But that's not all that's new. This time we've got a new challenge. So if you remember, last term we had our termly challenge as the After 8 challenge. Well, this term we've got something a little bit different. I want to see what you guys have been getting up to during lockdown. While you've not been allowed to leave your houses and go crazy and visit people, I want to see those art projects you may have done or pictures of the walks you've done. I want to see all of it, or even, which I know I've had some, the bad haircuts that you've been given because you've had to have them during lockdown. Lack of haircuts, as you can tell. But
Now we're going to go on to a little bit of worship and then a talk from John all about forgiveness, which going through lockdown has been a blessing.
Definitely need a bit of forgiveness during lockdown. Same people all the time. Right, but I'm going to quickly pray and then we will go into that. So Lord, I just pray you bless us all. I pray that you bless this year, and I pray that you bless John as he shares. Amen.
Cool. Over to you, John.
Once we were captives, now we are free. We were the broken, now we are redeemed. We were the fallen, but now we can soar. Whether you have weakness, Mary is strong. Whether there are battles, he's already won. No longer sleeping, but now we can dream. We are the living hope, and I hope it will not fade. We are the living stones, chosen people for your praise. We are the living God, for Jesus is alive. Ruling and reigning and seated on high by the Father's side. Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive. Once needing mercy, now we have grace. Where we are sinners, now we are saints. We were in darkness, but now we are light. Where we were orphans, now daughters and sons. Where we were homeless, your kingdom now comes. Where there is sadness, it will come to an end. We have a living hope, and a hope that will not fade. We are the living stones, the chosen people for your praise. We are the living God, for Jesus is alive. Ruling and reigning and seated on high by the Father's side. For Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive. The living Word made living flesh, the perfect Savior unto death, where death was put to death, to bring you life. Life that rose up from the grave and broke the chains, unlocked the gates, from all to enter in, for it is done. The living Word made living flesh, the perfect Savior unto death, where death was put to death, to bring new life. A life that rose up from the grave and broke the chains, unlocked the gates, the wall to enter in, for it is done. We have a living hope, and a hope that will not fade. We are the living stones, the chosen people for your praise. We have a living God, for Jesus is alive. Ruling and reigning and seated on high by the Father's side. For Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive, whoa, whoa. Jesus is alive.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John. Many of you will probably know me. Heather and Evan have asked me to do a talk today on forgiveness. I can only assume this is because Heather, as my wife, knows that I often get things wrong. So there's a few things that have to happen for forgiveness to happen, and they're fairly obvious to them for the most part, but I thought I'd cover them anyway. So firstly, for forgiveness to happen, someone has to do something wrong. Someone has to do something that makes someone else upset. I know I've done that in the past. I have said things that have upset people. I have accidentally broken things, I think for the most part accidentally broken things that belong to other people. I've accidentally eaten things that I shouldn't have. Has anyone done that? Come downstairs, found a cake and thought, ooh, yay, yummy cake. And then it turns out that cake was actually meant to be delivered to someone else and wasn't for eating. Yeah, it's not great. I'm sure you get the idea. We've all done things that are wrong. We've done things that have upset people. Top tip, in terms of words, if you are saying something to someone and they're not laughing and they're upset with you, that is not banter. That is bullying. So it's good to learn the difference, because sometimes the line between the two can be quite thin. But if you have said something and it's upset people, saying, oh, it's just bants, doesn't make it okay. So just keep that in mind. Secondly, so after someone's done something wrong, for forgiveness to happen, the person who has done something wrong needs to regret that thing that they have done. They need to feel bad about it to a certain extent and realise that they've upset the person. At this point, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes people can come up with excuses and make all sorts of reasons and give all sorts of things to validate why they did what they did or said what they said. And you know what? It never helps. If you've upset someone, it honestly doesn't matter why you did it or why it happened. All that really matters is that you've upset your friend or family member. That's the only thing that really matters. It doesn't matter if wind came out of nowhere and took away the kite, or a dog ran into the road and distracted you while you were playing with the remote control car, which causes it to smash into the wall. The point is that you've done something that has upset your friend or family member, and you need to make it right. So once you've realised that you've done something wrong and you need to make it right, you will say to that person, please will you forgive me? I'm so sorry. And that's an interesting thing. I don't know if you found this, but as a kid, if I did something wrong, say upset a kid named Dave, my parents would say, John, you need to go and apologise to Dave. And I would shuffle over and say, sorry, Dave. And my parents would say, could you say it like you mean it, please? And then I would say, sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to upset you. Please forgive me. That's a weird thing to say, really, isn't it, as a parent? Say it like you mean it. Because actually, what you really want is the child to actually mean it. You don't want them to just say it like they mean it. You don't want them to have nailed the magic forgiveness phrase and the forgiveness tone. You want them to actually, want to make things right with their friend. So it's really strange that we say that. So I'd encourage you, if you're a parent watching this, don't say it like you mean it. Say it because you mean it. That would make a lot more sense. But then, hopefully at that point, the person who you ask for forgiveness will say, I forgive you, which would be great. And then that's how forgiveness happens. So, how often should we forgive? Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, probably the most famous of his disciples, says to Jesus, how often should I forgive people? And Peter says, 7? 7 is quite reasonable, right? 7? We go to 7? And Jesus says, nope. 70 times 7, which if you're very good at and very quick at maths, you'll work out is 490 times. Now, that doesn't mean literally we should forgive people 490 times, and when you get to 491, that person is dead to you. It means that you should just keep on forgiving people. It's just a massively large number to say a lot of times. Just keep going. And many of you will know what's called the Lord's Prayer. It's the most famous prayer probably from the Bible, and it's the one that goes, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, that kind of one. And it says in that prayer, forgive us our sin as we forgive those who sin against us. So what's that saying is, as you're praying to God for him to forgive you for all the stuff that you've done wrong, you're sort of making a promise to say, because you're forgiving me, I'm going to be forgiving to those who have done me wrong. And Jesus emphasizes this in a story in the book of Matthew. It's a great story. Jesus says that there's this king, and a man owes the king what in today's money is probably about £150 million. And the guy comes to the king and says, I'm really sorry. I can't afford to pay you this money that I owe you. I'll try my best, but I'm really struggling. Please, can you forgive me? And the king says, okay, I forgive you. In fact, you know what? Don't worry about it. You don't need to pay me back a single penny, which is amazing. Then the man leaves, and not long afterwards, the man comes across someone else who owes him money, and this person owes him £8,000. So what do you think he does? Well, what he does is he beats that guy up and shouts at him, where's my money? And then threatens to get him put in prison. But you didn't see that coming. So that's kind of the point of the story. That just seems so wrong, doesn't it? And the king in this story, when he hears about the guy who has done this, says, gets him brought back and says, I let you off £150 million. This guy owed you £8,000. That's not right. I'm going to treat you the same way that you treated him. So I'm going to put you in prison until you can pay me back the £150 million that you owe me. And the point of the story is this. It's that God, if you're a Christian, forgives you of everything that you have ever done wrong and ever will do wrong, no matter how bad it is. All of the time, every time. So if you fully understand that, that's amazing. And if you know that, how could you possibly not forgive other people when they do stuff that upsets you? Because God has forgiven you of everything that you've ever done wrong and said wrong and thought wrong. So how could you forgive any less than he has forgiven you? So that's the end of my talk of forgiveness. What I would encourage you to do is, if you have not prayed a prayer of forgiveness to God before, saying, what, I have messed up in the past, I'm really sorry, can you please forgive me? I would encourage you to pray that prayer, to find that prayer in the Bible, the Lord's Prayer, and pray it through. Say, Lord, I'm sorry for the wrong things I've done. Please forgive me of all the stuff that I've messed up with. And as a part of that, help me to be a person who is also a forgiving person who will forgive others. And that would be awesome. So I'll pass you back to the guys now. But thanks for listening. Bye.
Thanks, John, for the talk about forgiveness. It's always nice to hear about the ways that Jesus taught us, that it's always good to forgive. And what's the worst that can happen? Either you keep it and the other person walks on, or you rid yourself of it. It's always nice.
It is really good. But now, as I've already told you about our termly challenge of sending us what you guys have been doing over lockdown, I want to set the weekly challenge. And this week is something I think actually most people are going to quite like. And I think because everything's a bit rubbish at the moment, and actually I know when people are challenging you to do stuff nice to other people and things, sometimes it can be really hard because you're like, well, I'm locked up and I'm struggling right now, so why isn't anyone doing it for me? I want you guys, my challenge for you this week is to do something that is going to help and support yourselves. If that is tidying your own room, I know it doesn't sound like a blessing, but trust me, I always found after doing a big tidy of my room and just relaxing in there, I used to love it, because I still do love it because my room still doesn't get tidy. Or even if it's just giving yourself some time out, aiming to go for a walk, just something that will bless you guys this week.
Cool. Well, hope you all have a good week and have had a nice time today, and we'll see you next week. Bye.